Hello and welcome to Rare Cuts Media Society, the podcast that looks at hidden media gems where the theme song is the best part. With your hosts as always, I'm Andrew Chigoda, and with me we've got Rob Lachik. How are you today, Rob?
I'm doing well. I'm ready to talk about the Brat Pack.
Yes, we will. And Mike Ross, how are you today, Mike?
I'm doing just fine.
Good. And with us, of course, is Eric Hathorn. How are you today, Eric?
I am great because we get to talk about a movie that holds a special place in my heart, and that I got to pick for November Thanksgiving, and there's not a lot of Thanksgiving movies, so I'm gonna hopefully sell you guys on that. This is the theme too, because of course we got our points. So part of this is a sales pitch. Just get ready. So that's coming. But no, yeah, I'm super excited to share this one with you guys, because I think when we talked about it last month, most of you hadn't seen it, even though it is. I was scared of its rarity, but it seemed to be rare, at least among us. So let's get into it. It's that time of year again. The leaves have turned, the clocks have rolled back, and there's a nostalgic chill in the air. Because Thanksgiving is the time to gather with family and friends, share a meal, and enjoy each other's company. At least that's the idea. But we all know how quickly things can derail when someone stirs up old grudges, reminds you of a long-forgotten favor, or launches into politics. Before you know it, the good times, the laughter, they turn into tension and hurt feelings. But somehow, every year, you all get back together next Thanksgiving when the whole cycle is bound to repeat again. The roller coaster of emotion isn't just Thanksgiving. It's also the essence of the ensemble cast in my pick for this Thanksgiving episode, the 1985 Brat Pack classic, St. Elmo's Fire, set against the backdrop of fall and friendship at Georgetown University. So
He's selling it hard, man.
I'm selling it hard. I'm not gonna lie. I told you I gotta sell it hard here.
Can I get a timeshare?
For 3 easy payments.
Don't get in the timeshare stuff. You'll never get out.
Right? All right. So 1985 St. Elmo's Fire is one of the cornerstones of the Brat Pack cinema of the 80s, and it's a large part of the naming of the 1980s young Hollywood group that would be the Brat Pack. The movie was directed by Joel Schumacher, who you might be more familiar with from such classics as Falling Down, which I guess isn't that much of a classic, but I like Falling Down. The Lost Boys, that one is an 80s classic, and Batman Forever. Batman and Robin too. He did both of those. He took over after Tim Burton. But yes, by your thumbs down, maybe that one's not a classic. But hey, you know it. So St. Elmo's Fire follows 7 friends and recent Georgetown graduates as they navigate adulthood through their first autumn out of college. The cast features some heavy hitters of the 1980s teen cinema and beyond. Rob Lowe, Emilio Estevez, Coach Gordon Bombay, of course, from the Mighty Ducks. I got to get my Disney reference in there. Andrew McCarthy, Demi Moore, Judd Nelson, Ali Sheedy, and Mare Winningham. 3 of those stars, Emilio Estevez, Judd Nelson, and Ali Sheedy, had just starred in the John Hughes high school classic, The Breakfast Club, when Joel Schumacher asked Hughes if he knew of any up-and-coming actors who could play college grads in his project, St. Elmo's Fire. So Hughes then recommended these young stars that he had just worked with. I think he didn't recommend Molly Ringwald and Anthony Michael Hall because they were actually high school age. These 3 were actually more the age of college graduates at the time. So the 2 movies, The Breakfast Club and St. Elmo's Fire, were released within a few months of each other, really at the beginning of 1985. Which led to this big amount of media attention on the stars and this infamous article that would dub the members of young Hollywood as the Brat Pack. So the intention of the article was to say that young Hollywood, all these stars, were this new Brat Pack, Rat Pack kind of play on words thing there. So I want to talk about the Brat Pack. Rob kind of talked about that at the beginning. What are your feelings about the Brat Pack, or what are your connections to Brat Pack movies, or what the Brat Pack is? I guess would be my first question. So Rob, since you brought it up at the beginning that you were ready to talk about the Brat Pack, tell us about your past with the Brat Pack.
I am a big fan of The Breakfast Club. It fits the bill of one of those movies when it comes on, usually just stays on, kind of like The Shawshank Redemption or The Shining. Any version of The Shining as well, it doesn't matter. But it's one of those movies that stays on. I enjoy the Brat Pack movies. I think it's kind of a good nostalgia type of just kind of a nostalgia thing to really absorb and kind of remember the 80s. I mean, very different era. But I think the one thing I definitely associate, which we could get into a little more with Brat Pack movies, is it's all about like that teenage angst, like, well, how am I getting through this? There's so many of these like things that are happening, and in truth, they're not really super important, but it's important to you as a teenager, right? But I think where this kind of falls, I think a little bit falls flat for me from a Brat Pack standpoint, is they're too old, in my opinion. I think it's like they're all the Brat Pack films are younger, teenage, high school, that kind of, and then this is like, I'm an adult. I mean, it's kind of where I'm going with this is young kids doing stupid stuff, right? It's kind of expected. It's funny, but like older people doing kind of stupid stuff, it can be funny, but it's kind of like, you're just kind of stupid. It's less entertaining in my opinion. So I think obviously fits the bill as a Brat Pack movie. I mean, it's all around the time, but do I think it fits like the real true definition and the spirit of the rest of them? Maybe not. Maybe not.
And it's interesting that that's kind of what the Brat Pack has become to be known. But this is, I'm going to go back to, I'm going to point out, this is one of the cornerstones of the Brat Pack. I do like your like, they're a little too old for it comment, because it reminded me of a Ray Romano joke that he does about like when his kids do something, and then like if his old, like, senior citizen dad does the same thing, it's a lot cuter when the kids do it than when an old man does it. But, like when the kids are in high school and they're doing something, there's like, oh, they're like, testing limits. But now when they're young adults, it's like, isn't that a crime? And stuff like that. So yes, I'll give you that. What about you guys? Mike, what about your Brat Pack experience?
My experience is pretty limited. I struggle with these movies mostly because I've always been an old man, and so trying to watch young people in movies, high school people, I didn't really connect with those characters or stereotypes, basically. And so I'll come clean. I have not watched really any of the Brat Pack movies in entirety. I've seen bits and pieces of Breakfast Club. I've probably seen some of 16 Candles, but I couldn't tell you what all happens in those films. And so having the experience of watching this one in entirety is like, oh, I'm guessing that the vibe I'm getting is that this is what happens when the Brat Pack grows up, and it is very sad. There's
pretty.
A lot of sad stories.
Yeah, it's not like the other Brat Pack movies in that sense. Well,
Yeah.
and I mean, those are sad stories too in some cases, but no, I just want to say that for you having to sit through St. Elmo's Fire as your first full Brat Pack experience, they're not all like this. No.
Yeah, but as like you guys are saying, with like a younger group and like in high school and doing dumb stuff, the ramifications aren't as great. You have time to change your life, but now we're seeing these people out of college. They've graduated. They're in the real world, and their decisions that they're making are having very negative impacts on their lives. In some cases, others get away with a lot, and I have other things I'll say later.
Yes, say them later, because there's a lot to be said about individual characters and groups of characters and all sorts of things like that. So I'm glad you're thinking there. So no, that's sorry this was your first foray into a Brat Pack genre. Andrew, tell us about your Brat Pack experience.
So to go off of how you were saying St. Elmo's Fire is one of the cornerstones of the Brat Pack, the way I'd picture it is like a building. It'd have 4 cornerstones. It would have Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink, 16 Candles, and then the corner that's looking like it's going to disintegrate because it's been there too long is St. Elmo's Fire.
I mean,
it's the corner of the building that faces west that always gets the brunt of the storms coming.
The lead stonemason was sick that day.
Because to me, it's like those first 3, like Rob was saying, if they're on TV, I might just put the channel on, just have it in the background, leave it on. Great movies. St. Elmo's Fire, I'm changing the channel.
Come on.
I'm sorry, but no. I mean, there's to me the Brat Pack. Yes, it's a Brat Pack movie, but it feels like a corruption of the Brat Pack. I mean, there's nothing that to me was keeping it at that level of the other 3. Like, it's like, okay, you've got these people, these actors, but the quality just isn't there. And I will say, if those are the cornerstones, then maybe the building could be those other movies that people discuss and say, are these part of the Brat Pack, like The Outsiders, and or Mannequin, and some stand up and some don't. But yeah, that's how I'd kind of view it, as like the building of the Brat Pack.
I enjoyed Mannequin over this.
Yes,
Mannequin is great. Like, I will still stand by it that Mannequin may have been my favorite Rare Cuts pick ever. I'll still stand by that. But of course, I'm the guy who picked St. Elmo's Fire, so that would be something I would say.
Eric, does it have anything to do with because it was picked by a fellow librarian?
I mean, that didn't hurt. I'm not gonna lie, it did not hurt. That did help its case. But no, I do love. So I love Brat Pack movies. It was a thing. So like I remember being introduced to the Breakfast Club by my dad, being like, "This is a great movie about like kids growing up. It all takes place in basically one room, and it's just great because like when I was like a young teen kind of thing, and it was like I loved it. I was in on it. Pretty in Pink is my favorite. Brat Pack movie. I love the use of the Smiths in Ducky's feeling very emo in that movie and all those kind of things. So I love Brat Pack movies. I'm gonna challenge your cornerstone, but this is the thing about the Brat Pack. Everyone has like their own like what is the Brat Pack thing. But I want to go back to that moment. I think I look at these 2 movies as more of a crossroad. And I called it a cornerstone because there was an article that was written after these 2 movies came out, and Emilio Estevez was interviewed for it. And the writer of the article saw how he was like the king of Hollywood at the moment with him and some of his other Brat Pack fans. And he wrote the term Brat Pack in the article, and that kind of like broke the spirits of everyone in these movies. But it happened all kind of quick after these 2 movies came out. And there's a whole documentary that Andrew McCarthy made about it. If you haven't watched that, I would recommend it. But St. Elmo's Fire and The Breakfast Club, I feel like it was kind of like we could go 1 or 2 ways with these movies. We could go St. Elmo's Fire's path, or we could go the Breakfast Club, and of course audiences resonated with the Breakfast Club because the people in St. Elmo's Fire, maybe it's that they were older, maybe it was that the characters are a different breed of character, which I kind of want to get into.
I think part of that is humor too. Like there wasn't really much humor in this movie. And what there was more cringy than anything.
Yeah, there's a lot of cringe, especially watching it like 40 years later at this point. We're watching this 40 years after it came out. And the other thing, too, that I don't think we've really talked about yet is John Hughes. This is Joel Schumacher. Joel Schumacher's Brat Pack is very different than John Hughes' Brat Pack. His use of the Brat Pack, I will say. Because he takes these characters that people kind of like grew to love in the Breakfast Club, and he takes these, I shouldn't say characters, these actors, and puts them in these roles. Let's talk about these roles, because the all-star cast of St. Elmo's Fire make up a motley crew of young adults post-college, not high school students like we've been saying. St. Elmo's Fire actually gives an opportunity for all of these actors to show their acting range, though. See, that's a positive. Because if we fell in love with them in one movie, this one might do the other. Because all of the characters in the movie are pretty terrible people. All of them. I'm going to go down the list, so stay with me here. Rob Lowe's frat boy sax player Billy continuously abandons his wife and child to play with his friends and cheat on his marriage. He can't keep a job even though his friend gets him all these jobs too. That's another piece of the pie there. Demi Moore's Jules.
Can I cut in? Just because I don't want to forget this. Nicole was very upset with Billy's character. Mostly because of how he treated his saxophone and did not carry it in a case.
He just threw it on his back wherever he's going. Yeah, he doesn't give a crap about that thing. That's true. Add that to the list of Billy's problems. He does not know how to treat his instrument.
Where's your saxophone polish?
But I mean, yeah, that's it. Let's get back into it, because there's some more. Demi Moore's character Jules is a party girl who runs through money faster than she could make it. We even see that with all the advances she takes on her paycheck. She has an affair with her married boss, and throughout the whole movie, she talks mercilessly about how she's going to cheap out on her stepmother's funeral when the woman isn't even dead yet. So that real winner there. Slightly better, we got Andrew McCarthy's Kevin Dolans. Basically, he keeps to himself in the friends group, and you're like, okay, I don't even know why he's friends with these guys, but oh wait, that's right. He hangs around the group because he secretly pines for his best friend Alec's fiance, but doesn't even tell her when he knows that Alec is cheating on her. He just doesn't even say it to her. He doesn't, try to be her friend in that moment either. I know he's stuck between rock and a hard place. Alec, though, his best friend, is played by Judd Nelson, and he is often the center of the action of the friend group because of his well-connectedness. And in addition to cheating on his fiance while pressuring her to get married to him, he totally shifts his political ideologies just for more money. He totally changes it, because he's gonna make more money. So he's like, I don't believe
Republican.
I don't believe that anymore. This guy's gonna pay me more, so I'll go this route. All right, we've got yikes. So Ali Sheedy plays Alec's fiance Leslie, and she is the victim of the toxic relationship, which does earn our sympathy throughout the movie until she discovers Kevin's feelings for her, and then she sleeps with him as a rebound to get back at Alec. So she'd taken advantage of her friend in that situation too. So I guess that, he didn't tell her. She takes advantage of him. It's a reciprocal thing going on there. Mayor Whittingham's social worker character Wendy might be the saving grace of the story if she didn't follow her friend's advice to get engaged to a guy and then break it off just so her dad would buy her a new car. That's literally what they tell her to do. She does come around on that. I will give her that. But she oh yeah, let's do this. My friend's got a great idea. I could get a brand new car. And don't even get me started on Kirby, or Kerbo, as he's listed in the cast list, played by Emilio Estevez. He obsessively stalks a doctor that he had a crush on freshman year, played by Andy McDowell. And if you were to edit this movie differently, it could be a psychological thriller with Estevez as the criminal character.
It kind of was.
Right?
But so, all right, that piece, the part that I was most confused by this is he's constantly coming up to Dale, played by Andy McDowell, and do it like, I mean, he shows up at this party soaking wet, uninvited, and she's just like, hello. Not like, what the hell are you doing here? Or other times, like, he like chews her out like in her apartment, but she's like, okay. And then first up, I don't know where these mountains are that close to Washington D.C. where it's snowing.
It's like Vermont or something.
I maybe, but like shows up and she's like, what are you doing here? I mean, like, call the cops. This guy's a weirdo.
It's so cold.
Like, I never understood that. Was that, I mean, if that was like written that way, like, boo, you're fired. You like should not have been writing that part. It was just like, I didn't understand that at all.
And he's completely crazy. I mean, obsessively so. He's a stalker. I mean, there's no kind of mincing words there. He's a stalker. He sees her after their friend is in a car accident, and he's like, oh, I know you. You're that person I went on a date with one time when I was a freshman. You were a senior. And then like he just becomes totally enthralled and obsessed and can't do anything else, and is doing all these different weird schemes to try to get her to meet up with him. And then ultimately, like, her not showing up at a party that he's claiming he threw just for her. It's weird. It's creepy. And then he throws a complete fit, like a very entitled. I mean, I thought this movie was going in a completely different direction. I thought this was going to be commentary on toxic masculinity, and then that didn't happen, and I was upset.
What was it? Is it a time capsule of documentary? Like, in hindsight, does it kind of become that?
I'll say no, because I mean, what happens is
no lesson.
He drives off smiling with happy music playing
after kissing her, forcibly kissing her.
Yeah,
and then he's like, "Yeah, look at me." It's like, What are you, 12? Are you a 12-year-old? Like, specifically, that scene is identical to what happens in what's the movie? Sandlot. The kid that pretends to be drowning in the pool. Mm-hmm. Lifeguard saves him, and then he starts trying to French kiss her. And then he's like, "Oh yeah, look at me." It's like the same thing, only he's an adult, and it's sexual assault.
Like, as I said early, it can be funny when a kid does something really stupid, but when an adult does it, as you said, Mike, it's a crime.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I honestly, I felt kind of bad for Andy McDowell, because I'm looking at her character, and I'm like, she's just an object. Like, his objectification of her is complete, and the movie just leaves it at that. Like, she just is like, oh, like, what the hell is she? So maybe she just did the role for money, or maybe she didn't know better at that age. But I think most actresses nowadays would look at that role and say, I'll pass.
Yeah, any sane person calls the police, especially if they drove up to a cabin in the middle of the night during a snowstorm in the mountains that are definitely in Washington, D.C.
Those good old Maryland mountains.
the character I also felt bad for is Ron, their gay neighbor. He did not have any luck.
I will say there were two. I'm glad you brought up Ron. There are two things, or two potential different movies I could see being made and being funny or good. I
but
could
not
see
both.
not yeah. The
Sorry,
one
I
you bring
had
up Ron, I could see maybe a Billy Ron buddy movie, possibly.
Oh
And then
God.
similarly, another film I think that has probably the real promise it could be funny. It would be surrounding Billy going to Wendy's family dinner. You could just call it Billy's coming to dinner, and then have the mom and the family like, who is this weird guy? He's on drugs.
Billy from the roof? That's what her dad calls him towards the end of the movie. She's like, she's talking about Billy, and he's like, "You mean Billy from the roof?" Because he ends up on the roof, of course. Yeah,
That sounds like a good band name,
right?
Billy from the Roof, like Jenny from the Block.
I'm just Billy from the roof. Oh, Billy from the roof.
And again, like Wendy, that character is very, very sad. I mean, because, and I'm sure we'll get into it more, but just how her parents, specifically her father, treats her as, someone who just needs to get married and have babies, and that's your role, that's your duty. And
don't forget the card shop. Don't forget the card shop now.
What do they call them? The card. Goodness gracious. They call them like cardatoriums or something like that, and I can't remember what it is now.
Yeah, and Nicole was bothered by it too. Is that in the 80s, she was the one that was being considered the fat girl, who is clearly not fat, not overweight in the slightest, but ultimately forced to wear like the most modest, kind of ugliest clothing. And it's like that it feels wrong. It feels like the producers probably do think that about women. So I didn't care for that. And she's honestly the only thing that was the saving grace for this movie for me, is hoping for a better outcome for her life.
Well, let's be real. It actually did get better for her because Billy was gone. Because he was definitely a toxic source of her life.
Things are going to be way better for Billy once he gets to New York.
That's how it always happens, right? You go to New York and your life's made. So you bring up a good point, because I think, well, I still think I maybe want to ask that question again later, because I got a couple of questions I want to get into here, and one of them is my assessment. So I read through all that stuff about the characters, and is it fair? Was I fair to all of them? I just called all of them terrible people and listed reasons why they were terrible. Now I was very biased, and there's redeeming qualities to a lot of them. Maybe not all of them, but a lot of them that I didn't list. But was my assessment of the characters fair? You kind of brought up the point that Wendy kind of got a tough space, this tough spot to be in. So maybe I shouldn't have gone so hard on a character like that. But was my assessment was it fair to all of them, or are there ones that I should have left out as being decent?
I think you were right. Because I mean, on top of, those horrible traits, I mean, even if you say Wendy is not that bad, she's surrounding herself with these people, knowing how they are and how they treat her. And it's like,
well, the one thing a big downside with Wendy was it was early in the film where Wendy walks in on Jules just snorting some coke, and she just kind of like, okay, like that's what you do. I mean, like, how is that okay? But
so that is something that I fixated on a lot, is how Jules clearly has a coke problem. She's doing coke quite frequently, and her friends are not concerned. When they go to have their intervention at what you're going to try to tell me is the Thanksgiving meal.
You said it, not me. Put it down there. Mike called that, said it was the Thanksgiving meal. All right.
Her friends are there to have an intervention, and I was like, oh, because of the coke. And it's because of her sleeping with her boss and how that's all going. It's like, I think the coke is a bigger issue. Let's address that. Yeah. But it's the 80s, so
did not age well.
No, not at all. So it doesn't age well. Well, and I do want to say, because I read some reviews and things at the time, and when it came out, it was a popular movie to some extent. It was never as popular as the John Hughes one, but there were a lot of these complaints at the time too. It wasn't like everyone was like, this is the greatest thing. And this shows exactly what it's like to be a youth in the 80s. It's not the case. It's highly dramatized soap opera extremism of events and things, of course. But yeah, no, it doesn't age well. But I don't think I think it started kind of expired in some ways. Yeah, they're not, so that's so the next thing is who is the worst of the bunch?
Kirby.
I know Kirby. I was going to say, is it Kirby? We went hard on Kirby at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. For me, it's Kirby, because he acts like he should be able to just own the Dale character. Like, he wants Dale and he just wants to take her, and it doesn't matter that he doesn't know anything about this woman other than he saw her and went on a date one time. He hasn't had any
Woody Allen movies, maybe, but she forgot about it.
So, and I mean, he's perpetrating crimes against this woman. So,
yeah.
See, that's another movie that could be made. Kirby, the Creeper.
I think that was the movie that was made. No.
Kirby, Portrait of a Serial Killer.
There you go.
There were moments. I'm
not
gonna lie.
Yeah, I'd have to go Kirby, because I want to say how terrible Billy is, but I feel like Billy was like, they missed a diagnosis of like ADD or something, and maybe he would have been a lot better person if he could focus. But Kirby, no, there's no that's like he needs a psych ward or something for that.
Don't forget about Alec. Kind of a tool bag, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Alec's a pretty bad dude too.
But he's gonna be, monogamous once he gets married.
That's how that works.
This is plan.
That's his plan. Yeah, well, and to treat her so poorly after she sleeps with one person when he's been sleeping with we don't know how many.
Yeah.
Don't even get to the politics stuff either.
Yeah.
He was the head of the Young Democrats for 3 years. And then he got offered a couple more dollars to go work for a Republican, and it's just like, see you guys later. But yeah, the campus Democrats had him as the president for 3 years. That's what they say. And then everyone's just like, oh, cool. Like, when he's like, I'm totally changing my persona and who I am. And they're like, cool, man.
Back then, Republicans were very different from today.
That's true.
They were mostly fixated on Reaganomics and ripping off Americans. Oh wait, they're pretty similar.
When you say Reaganomics, I feel like there was a thing on Robot Chicken where the Ninja Turtles used Reaganomics as cowabunga. You're like, Reaganomics, and that just came into my mind. Oh man. So
But
yeah.
Alec is pretty terrible. But again, Billy was trying to sexually assault Jules. And like I can't forgive him
Lock
for
them all
that.
up. Throw them all in the clink.
And you forgot about Billy's other creepy trait, where he
Asking
can.
if you're a virgin.
Yes.
Yeah.
He keeps asking Wendy. Like every time he sees her, it's like, "Hey, you still a virgin?" Like that's the
and
first.
Then he takes it. What a creeper!
That was his plan the whole time. That's why he could then leave.
Oh, that's
So is
weird.
he worse? No, because was he just doing subtle stalking where Kirby was a little bit blatant with it?
And how are they still friends after all this?
I don't know.
That's another good question.
I think
how are they still friends?
That's
after
another
all
movie.
Of this?
All each of their individual families do an intervention. You need to cut these people out of your life.
Alec literally tries to murder Kevin.
Yeah.
And then by the end, it's like, so yeah, we're both into Leslie, but she's not into either of us right now. Maybe we kill her.
Well, Alec also, he has a tendency to be explosively violent because he does the same thing. So he keeps getting his friends jobs and they're terrible at them. And so they lose the jobs. And early on in the movie, he like shoves Billy's head into the toilet in the bathroom when he hears he lost the job, which once again in like kids cinema that happens is like, okay, he's getting a swirly. And I mean, even then it's not even cool, but like when adults do it, it's like if someone did that to you, that's a crime.
Well, but, all right, let's
Billy's not even upset.
No, he's just like they do their little booga after that. Like they're like hugging and shaking hands.
Like if somebody put my head in the toilet, I'm not going back to the bar and keep drinking. I'm going home and taking a shower because I'm not sitting with poo water on my head all night here. Ain't gonna happen.
At the very least.
Backstory that we don't know is Billy actually just got done cleaning that toilet. So
he knew. So he knew. It was clean.
Was that one of his many jobs that he had?
Yeah, right. That's the only explanation.
Oh man. All right. So flaws. I mean, these characters are all super flawed, and flaws are what makes characters relatable, interesting, etc. If you look at The Breakfast Club, all of the characters have flaws, all of them. That's like a core thing about the movie. Like the flaws of The Breakfast Club are what, maybe got them to their Saturday detention, and they kind of talk about their flaws and kind of work through them. This movie, the characters are definitely flawed, but are they too flawed that it makes the movie unwatchable, or are the flaws being so extreme the point of the movie? What do you guys think about that?
If it were the point of the movie, there would be consequences. The end of the movie comes, Billy's got enough money that he is just going to move on to New York City. He's abandoning what was his wife, he was never there for, abandoning his child, and it's just moving on. And we don't know what's going to happen. Probably he's going to die. I mean, that's the best guess I have.
Not wrong.
Kirby sexually assaults a woman. He's excited. He's happy about it. He gets to go home, and he's going to just do this to more women. He's a terrible person. Jules, she's not dealing with her issue. She's going to find another job and probably end up following those same type of choices that she's made in the past, because she hasn't addressed anything. She's going to be doing coke, trying to sleep around to move her way up. And so it doesn't feel like she's learned a lesson either. Alec, once a cheater, always a cheater. So that's not going to fix itself. And I don't know what happens to Leslie. Wendy, I think, is the only one that had a true character arc where now she's becoming more assertive. So I think she has the brightest future. But those are all my opinions.
Is Wendy's plan just to go and make midnight peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for the rest of her life?
Well, she might become, I could see her moving up in an organization that is helping the disenfranchised and doing bigger and better things and being happy with what she's doing.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, like I said earlier, when you use that upbeat music at the end, it's like, oh, great, look what they're doing, haha. It's not like, but it's not teaching anything to anybody, or at least maybe Wendy, but no, Billy's going to be off in New York. He's going to be doing the same things he was doing, and then he's just not going to have anybody there that he knows. So he's probably going to end up coming right back home, and then trying to mooch off of those friends all over again. Except now they're going to, the big lesson is, now we're adults. We're going to move on and have brunch
at a different bar, because that one's too immature for them. That's where the kids hang out.
That's the thing. Grow up and have brunch, kids. That's the lesson here.
But are they actually growing up? They're getting older, but are they actually growing up? Right?
They'll just go drink Bloody Marys in the morning instead of beers and whiskey at night.
Yeah. I mean, overall, I guess as a saving grace to the film itself, is the outcome for a lot of these characters realistic for the 80s? Yeah, probably, sadly. Do I think in reality they would remain friends the way they did at the end of the film? No way. But I do think that there's a lot of people, especially in the 80s, that got away with sexually assaulting people. And people would just be like, ha, 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 boys will be boys, right? So it did not age well. So
see, that would be a great end credits scene to the film. Would be
Billy Alec to New York.
Alec sitting in hula hands, like, where the F is everybody? Because nobody showed up.
That would be the best possible outcome. But the sad truth is they all probably showed up.
See, I was thinking more of like the 80s freeze frame endings where they show each character like laughing, and then it has like the title where it's like Alec went to New York and was mugged for his saxophone and died of a heroin overdose.
Really dead, deceased.
Oh man.
Kirby went on to assault more women and then
had to go
shot. To
Kirby was sentenced
sexual
20 to 30
harassment
years.
training. Yeah.
But yeah, so there's a lot to, so I will tell you, and I started off saying this, and everything we've said is 100% true, and I agree with it. But I still, there's this thing about St. Elmo's Fire where I still enjoy this movie for what it is, knowing that it is terrible. And I'm not saying it's good; it's a terrible movie. But you can enjoy a terrible movie for it being terrible. But the part that I enjoy the most, and Andrew, I think you were the one who brought it up, the upbeat music. The music is the saving grace for me, and I love it. And so when Joel Schumacher had got his start, he actually directed some music videos throughout his early career, and he wanted to tap into the power of MTV when he made this movie. Like, that was the purpose. One of the purposes of this movie was to be like a movie for the MTV crowd. So one assessment of his movie at the time, this St. Elmo's Fire, was that it just felt like a big, long, extended music video. St. Elmo's Fire was the first major film that esteemed composer and record producer David Foster worked on completely. He co-wrote most of the songs on the album, and he is solely responsible for the instrumental love theme from St. Elmo's Fire that plays throughout the movie, that instrumental little song. do 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 whatever. I can't even do it all because it's all the synthesizers and it's beautiful. The song that they wrote for the title track of the whole movie, St. Elmo's Fire, Man in Motion, actually literally broke all the rules of the movie because Foster was supposed to co-write a major hit single theme with British singer-songwriter John Parr, and they were given specific instructions from Joel Schumacher that they were supposed to write the song about young adults trying to find their way in the world and not include the phrase St. Elmo's Fire. It was already in the movie as the name of the bar that the characters congregated at through college, and Billy uses the story of like meteorological St. Elmo's Fire to convince Jules not to freeze herself to death. So it was like St. Elmo was already enough in the movie. Also, I don't really understand how his story of St. Elmo's Fire really helps the situation, but apparently it does. So too much St. Elmo's Fire in the movie, don't put it in the song. So, of course, after the first line of the song, growing up, you don't see the writing on the wall, Foster and Parr threw away all the rules and the notes, and they wrote the rest of the song about a Canadian athlete, Rick Hansen, who had become wheelchair bound after a spinal cord injury. And then they added the phrase St. Elmo's Fire in the chorus and titled the song St. Elmo's Fire. They did not do their homework correctly, but it made a pretty damn awesome song. So what did you think about the music in the movie? Did it shine through? Is it separate from the movie? Did it enhance the movie in some ways, or did it fall completely flat? Did you understand that MTV stuff? What about the music for you there? Tell me about your love for the music, please.
Not my kind of music.
I don't sense a very high score from Mike on this one.
There was a lot of saxophone and comments.
That was the only good part. The sax.
Me
The
and
sax
Nicole
was the
were
only
like,
good part.
what happened to the popularity of saxophones? Because they were huge in the 80s.
What about saxophone cases? Were those popular too?
No,
Apparently
no.
not.
The best saxophone players just slung it over their shoulder.
Billy probably used it to clean the toilet.
But you never know when you're going to need a good sax solo. So if it's always just over your shoulder, you're just ready to go.
That scene in the bar with the saxophone solo was very long.
That's the best way to describe it. It does go on long. That song is not on the soundtrack, though. I will say that. That song.
Well, I don't know, maybe bad reason. I don't know.
I liked the music. And like I said in the intro, it was the best part of the movie. I mean, I've always loved the song St. Elmo's Fire, so it was kind of funny that I'd never watched the movie until now. But yeah, it's just, I mean, Rob will appreciate this statement. The music, it's like polishing a turd. I mean, it just. I'm not going to watch the movie just to listen to the music. I'll just listen to the music.
There you go.
It's a turd. Not a fan there, Eric H. Sorry.
The movie or the music? We're talking about the music.
Right? Even the music, it was just like, I don't know. It was too, like, to your point, too upbeat.
I'll give it this. It was better than the music from Mazes and Monsters.
That's a made-for-TV movie. This is esteemed composer David Foster. He worked on like The Bodyguard. He worked on so many things. He's brilliant, but I included that story. I think I have an answer for you guys because I included that story about the theme song. So yeah, if you listen to the lyrics of the theme song, like it is not about the movie at all. It's literally about this Rick Hansen who's wheelchair bound. He was on a tour called the Man in Motion tour. That's why it's called St. Elmo's Fire, Man in Motion, because they wrote it about him. So I think David Foster didn't follow any of the notes from the beginning at all, or didn't even get them. He might not have even watched the movie, but wrote and chose the songs for it. Because They're the songs of a different movie, not this one.
Maybe that's the movie he wanted to be part of.
He was like, this will make it better because this movie, yikes, I'm just going to make this music. But yeah, no, that St. Elmo's Fire song, though, is fire. I do have to say that. You got to admit,
you to call it that.
Even if you didn't like the movie, that song was the best part of the movie.
It was, yes. I would agree with that.
What do you think about that, Mike? I mean, the bar is very low. The bar is very low.
I don't know how to answer. I am not an 80s music person. I'm sorry.
I love it. Will it sweeten the deal if I tell you this is the song that Lisa Simpson chooses over conservative radio when Sideshow Bob is running for office and Homer's listening to like the Rush Limbaugh character, and she's like, could you turn that off? And he's like, you could pick the radio when you drive. And then they cut scene to her driving and she's listening to this song.
That's right.
I don't know.
Does that make it better?
Birch Barlow sounds pretty good.
That's his name. Birch Barlow. You pulled that one out, man.
I pulled that one out. I haven't thought about that episode in a long time.
But this is that song. I just got to throw that out there too. All right. So as I'm striking out here on getting some good points, congratulations, Rob. I'll just say that right now because no, I think you're still in the lead.
I told you he's going to win all the ratings.
So usually about this point in our discussion, we recast this movie, but we should not recast this movie because I don't think it should be remade. If you were to remake this movie, I don't think this movie could be remade. Because by the time you change everything that you have to change, because we've talked about did not age well, it's a different movie. Like the only thing would be there's people, there's friends.
You could remake this, but it'd be a very dark movie and have consequences for each of these characters. And you see how their friendship literally falls apart. And that is the movie.
Now, we have discussed.
And maybe the character Wendy is one of the few people who realizes how much better her life is now that she's apart from this group. Maybe that's the main character overall. I don't know.
If it did get remade, as we have talked about Willem Dafoe.
Oh God, I was trying to avoid this one.
Could Willem Dafoe replace Emilio Estevez as the creeper?
The worst part would be it's all these young adults post college, and then there's Willem Dafoe showing up. Like, hey friends, remember me from that econ class? Like,
oh, I want it. I would
pay money to see Willem Dafoe as
That's not
Kirby.
Happening.
I would pay money for that.
Hey, Willem Dafoe was the best part of Beetlejuice, in my opinion. So
I'm something of a Republican myself.
Oh, man. Okay, so I was trying to avoid the Willem Dafoe question, but he came back anyway.
Hey, you can't avoid it, just like you can't avoid Disney. So
that's true. That's true. And I did throw in my Gordon Bombay because I had to throw something in. But no, so like if you think about it, so you're going the way that it's dark. I'm going to kind of talk about if it was remade. Like, has this actually been remade? Was Friends, the 90s sitcom, could you say that that's what a more modern remake of this would be? That was about 6 friends, not 7 friends, but it was about 6 friends and how they made a family out of their friends.
They were better to each other in the TV.
Yeah, they're less dysfunctional.
But I'm saying if we take all the things out of this movie that would have to change to make it acceptable for a more modern adaptation, is it? It's just a different movie.
Yeah,
it's a different movie. So because of that, let's not recast this whole thing. We got Willem Dafoe. That's fine. He could be part of this. But I wanted to do something different because in lieu of a new cast, I want to do taglines, because this movie has had taglines. I like looked them up on IMDb. I saw some on the cover of the DVD I got from the library, all this stuff, taglines. And it's had a number over the years that have kind of changed. And I want to know what you guys think about these taglines, and then maybe suggest a new tagline of your own for 2024 that might let us know what's happening in this movie even more so. So the first one I'm going to share with you is St. Elmo's Fire, the passion runs deep. The second one is St. Elmo's Fire. They thought they'd be friends forever, but forever couldn't last. And then finally, St. Elmo's Fire. You can always count on your friends. Those are all literal taglines for this movie.
Don't ever let the fire go out is the other part of that one you just read.
Oh, you can always count on your friends. Don't ever let the fire go out. Yes.
You're gonna have to bleep me on this one, Eric. But St. Elmo's Fire. You're not young anymore. Stop doing stupid shit.
Mine is this ain't no Central Perk.
Oh, friends.
Or you could even do friends with a question mark.
I like that too.
St. Elmo's Fire. Sexual assault is okay in the 80s.
Oh God! Yeah, dark real
Disclaimer.
fast there.
See,
When a tagline begins with sexual assault, it's not going to end well.
It sounds like it's the beginning of an episode of Law and Order SVU.
Oh, see? Okay, that's how you remake this. You make it an episode of SVU, be like, we got these recently graduated college kids, and we're investigating them. We got a stalker, we got a sexual assault, someone with a coke problem. St. Elmo's Fire. Make better friends.
Make better friends.
St. Elmo's Fire. Terrible people. That's it.
Yeah. But I mean, like this, yeah. Terrible people.
I got one more.
Go for it.
St. Elmo's Fire. Watch The Breakfast Club instead.
That one. No, they're also they give you a sense of what you're gonna get, because I don't think any of the original taglines do it. Some of them are downright false, but ours are all 100% true. 100% true.
One of them says, "The heat this summer is at St. Elmo's Fire."
I cut that one out because I was like, that one's just trying to get people to go to the theater because they don't want to say anything about the movie because it's trash. But no.
But it doesn't take place in summer.
So the movie came out in like June. So that's where the heat this summer comes from, like, for you.
And I guess that makes sense because the movie begins at graduation. Like, they're all walking away from graduation, and then it's like immediately stuff starts happening. And I felt, as a film, it jumped around a lot. Like, you have scenes where there's a character talking to someone, and then jump cut, and now we are at that same character is in a different place altogether talking to someone else, and it's just kind of jarring how they made the movies. I don't feel like it was well directed by any means.
Joel Schumacher getting the business from us today.
Wow. Then he went and made a bad Batman movie. So
2 bad Batman movies.
Brat Pack. Brat Pack forever. That's the
Brat Pack and Robin. Oh man. All right. So that I mean, we kind of ran St. Elmo's Fire through the ringer. And now you guys get to run my pick through the ringer of the score. So I'm going to get that scoreboard pulled up. and let's see how St. Elmo's Fire did. There will be bargaining. There will be bargaining for points. Don't worry. So now here we are at the point of time in this episode where you guys get to give me a score based on my pick of St. Elmo's Fire, and we'll put it up against Rob's score and see how I did to see who will be the winner of this theme stretch. So we're of course going to score. We're going to score my pick, St. Elmo's Fire, in its rarity, its theme, which is Thanksgiving, which, remember, those relationships at Thanksgiving can be very dicey, and then you have to, come back and see those people again. So,
And there was a meal at the homeless shelter.
There was a meal at the homeless shelter, and let's be honest too, that meal where Billy went to Wendy's house was very Thanksgiving. That when you have some like rando Thanksgiving guest kind of thing going on. Who ends up on your roof, like as you do. And then, of course, enjoyment. So we've got rarity, theme, and enjoyment. And I know I'm going to have 5s across the board being the highest score we can get. All 5s. I'll just mark it in the board right now. But anyways, all right. So on the list, we've got Andrew first, who... I don't know why I made this list end in Mike, because I got the sense that whatever the score is after Rob gives his score is going to be the final score. But anyway, you slice it. Let's start with Andrew.
All right. Well, rarity, I've got to give it a 4. It was hard to find, which with that many stars and being Brat Pack, you'd think it would be all over the place, but it's not. So it ended up being pretty rare.
Maybe it's telling you something why it's so rare to find.
Yeah, we'll get to that with enjoyment.
Oof.
Theme, if these people were my friends, I'd cut them off by the holidays. I'm going to give it a 2 on theme. Because, no. There was snow in the mountains, though.
Which happens in November. And that, honestly, that scene could have been November because it goes through the whole of fall. This is where I'm campaigning for points here. It goes through the whole of fall. Like, it starts in like a September-y kind of mood. That saxophone solo, the epic saxophone solo, is at a Halloween party. I didn't know if you guys caught that.
It was more a Halloween movie.
But, well...
the Halloween bit was longer.
Very scary.
But then there's a lot of movie after Halloween.
Unfortunately.
All right, with that, get to enjoyment.
All right. And enjoyment, I'm going to give it a 2 because I like a lot of the stars that are in it, but I can't stand any of the characters.
So Andrew gives it a total of 8.
Yep.
4, 2, and a 2. Rob, you're next up on the scoring block here.
All right. So for rarity, I gave it a 3. And I gave it that. It's hard to find. You can't, in my opinion, you can't rate these on the actors or actresses or the directors of the film, because there's a lot of rare movies that have a lot of big time stars in it, right?
Like Cobra.
Perfect example. I didn't even bring it up. So it's probably the least of the bunch for the Brat Pack movies, right? As Jagoda said, hard to find. So I gave it a 3. Theme, kind of was the theme. I gave it a 2. It was like all season, fall, late summer, winter.
Just remember when one of y'all got to pick another Thanksgiving movie.
I'm gonna pick Dutch again.
I was about to say Dutch 5 across the board.
Hey, that one's already been up here.
And then for enjoyment, Sorry, Eric. I'm giving it a 2 as well.
Ooh.
It just like there were very few parts of the film where it was like I really enjoyed that part. Right? They were few and far between. And even to the point, I think like, we talked a little bit about it. Like if another Brat Pack movie came on, leave it on. I'm not leaving this one on. I'm flipping the channel.
All right. So for rarity, I mean, I haven't watched any of the Brat Pack movies, but I know of, other ones. I've heard the title of this, but it might have just been the title from the song because I feel like the song was more popular than the movie.
Oh, show.
So for rarity, I'm going to give it a 3. It's neither super rare, but it's also not well known. Theme. I mean, I guess I'll give you that Thanksgiving meal. So I'll give you a 2. No one ever says the word Thanksgiving.
I mean,
That's
Alec is
true.
kind of a turkey, so
Oh, zing! That should get a point somewhere. No.
For Andrew, for a bonus point for his pick.
Oh, I mean, I guess I'll give him that. That works. Put it on the end. No.
Enjoyment, I am gonna give it a 1.
Oh,
I would not watch this again. Not my jam. So sorry.
All right. So that gives me, or I should say, St. Elmo's Fire, a total score of 21. So let's check and see what Rob had up here on the board with his big old 38 that we're going to have to take a look at. Let me switch that one over for you guys to see. Right? There we go. So I did hit it. I hit blackjack right on the button. In that case, Rob busted. I must be winning. But no, that's not how this works. It's not golf. It's not blackjack. Rob is definitely in the lead with his 38 points. I just hope maybe I'm not last, but maybe I am. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. But so far, St. Elmo's Fire is not burning as brightly as I would have hoped.
That could be the tagline.
Not burning as brightly as I would have hoped. I like that.
They graduated college, and none of them are burning as brightly as one would have hoped. Just one quick little throwback.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Kirby, that's a fake name. He really is Coach Bombay. He's going to become a lawyer, and he's going to end up having a little legal trouble and teaching a group of children how to ice skate and play some hockey.
That's the after he's living and hiding in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I'll buy it.
All right. Well, that was St. Elmo's Fire, a obviously Thanksgiving movie.
It got the points to show it, so I don't know what you guys are even laughing about.
And I just want to say it. Misogyny, sexual assault of any kind is never right, and there is no justifying any of that. And it's very serious, and to kind of make light of it in movie is not appropriate either. So, but with that out of the way, we're heading into December, like the king of all holiday seasons. What do you got for us,
what
Andrew?
happened with Easter?
it's not in December.
There's not enough Easter movies, but there are so many. It's not like like Thanksgiving. You get a holiday like Thanksgiving, and there are not a lot to choose from. But you got
Yes,
a lot
but
to choose from.
With Christmas.
Okay, there's not a lot to choose from unless you're going to get into some of the weird horror, because there's plenty of
which I am not going to do.
Thanksgiving horror movies.
Which I am not going to do. But anyways, let's shine that light
what do you
on
got?
Andrew.
Anyway, so for our holiday December movie, I am picking Terry Pratchett's Hogfather, the miniseries. It's a 2-part miniseries from 2006, starring Michelle Dockery, David Jason, Mark Warren, and David Warner, who we all know and love from movies like Tron. There's your Disney connection there ahead of time. It's based on the novel by Terry Pratchett, Hogfather, from 1996, and I watch it every year. I figured maybe we should go a little bit British this time around, and very fitting for the theme, I would say. So I should get a lot of points there. It's
get more than St. Elmo's Fire.
Here's hoping. So it's currently free to stream on Peacock, Philo, Sling TV. And of course, you can go to your local library, get hard copies there, Blu-ray, DVD. Thankfully, it's a lot easier to find nowadays than it was when I first tried to find it back in 2007, since those were all British imports. But please feel free, watch Terry Pratchett's Hogfather, and join us next time for our Christmas holiday special here on the Rare Cuts Media Society.
I'll bring the figgy pudding.
And I have one last question about this movie.
Yeah.
What was the deal in Jules' apartment at the end with the creepy giant clown head?
I don't remember the giant clown head because I was too busy looking at the mural of Billy Idol on the wall for some reason.
I'm gonna answer this question with one word: cocaine.
I mean, he's not wrong. He's not wrong.
Not wrong.
Visit us online at rarecutsmediasociety.com. There you can find old episodes, subscribe, or connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thanks for listening.